Today on the AI Daily Brief, big changes at OpenAI as the side quests end and the main quest for Work AGI heats up. Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief. The hallmark of 2026 so far has been big inflection point style change. Obviously, that's been the case for individuals, but it also clearly is the case among companies who are competing in the AI space. Some of the dominant themes have been the clawification of everything and the convergence of features, and nowhere has the AI race gotten more focused and acute than in OpenAI's strategic shifts as it watches an insurgent Anthropic start to dominate the enterprise and coding conversation. Now, we are coming up on 6 months now of a renewed focus on coding and knowledge work from OpenAI. Going all the way back, frankly, to the release of GPT-5, it was increasingly clear that Code AGI was going to be a big part of their strategy as well. And yet, for most of 2025, we were still in the OpenAI paradigm of letting 1,000 flowers bloom. While Anthropic kept their head down and focused on knowledge work, OpenAI was a bit more voracious in its appetite, competing strategically in some ways much more closely to Google's approach. But then we got OpenAI's Code Red in December, and with it came renewed focus. And what's more, the focus seemed to pay off. Codex is increasingly a real choice alongside Claude Code for many AI builders, and over the last week there's been lots of reporting about the ways that OpenAI is going to consolidate its focus even more. CEO of Applications Fiji Simo, in fact, confirmed reports from last week that said exactly this. She tweeted, "Companies go through phases of exploration and phases of refocus. Both are critical. But when new bets start to work like we're seeing now with Codex, it's very important to double down on them and avoid distractions." Today we got the latest story on that front. And if anything, it shows that OpenAI is quite serious about the idea of putting away side quests. Now, some of the news was managerial. Sam Altman told staff on Tuesday that he would be changing and in fact in some ways reducing his role. Altman will no longer have direct oversight of OpenAI's safety and security teams, and will narrow his focus to raising capital, supply chains, and the data center buildout. The safety team will be folded into the research organization headed by Chief Research Officer Mark Chen, and the security team will move into the so-called scaling organization under President Greg Brockman. When it comes then to core commercial strategy, Altman's reduced role seems to put CEO of Applications Fiji Simo in the driver's seat. Her core team, the product division, will be renamed AGI Deployment, clearly in line with the company's ambitions. Last week, the reporting said that Simo had told engineers that the next big project would be combining ChatGPT, Codex, and the Atlas browser into a desktop super app. Now, interestingly, and somewhat unexpectedly, the latest reporting also gave us some information around OpenAI's next big model. In a memo, Altman told staff that the company had finished pre-training the model that is codenamed Spud. He said things are moving faster than many of us expected, and told staff that they expect to have a, quote, very strong model in a, quote, few weeks, that the team believes can really accelerate the economy. His words. Now, people jumped all over that phrase, accelerate the economy. Shub Thorat writes, "Accelerate the economy is doing a lot of heavy lifting. That's either AGI or a really confident marketing team." Now, obviously, this is an internal communication, and while at this point I think if you're OpenAI, you kind of have to assume that anything big that you say is going to be leaked at some point, it is an interesting choice to use that type of phrasing, which of course runs the risk of overpromising and underdelivering. Ever since the challenges of the release of GPT-5, which had misaligned expectations, OpenAI has really shied away from that sort of big, bombastic overpromising. Of course, someone like Altman has multiple constituencies that he's got to deal with. In addition to getting users excited, he's got to keep his team excited as well. And so that communication and idea could be more squarely aimed at rallying the troops in a moment of intense transition. Maybe the most discussed new news, though, as it relates to OpenAI's new focus, is the fact that the mandate to end SideQuest has claimed its first victim. As part of his memo, Altman announced that Sora would be sunset and OpenAI would discontinue all products that use their video models. Within hours of the report breaking, the official Sora app account on Twitter tweeted, "We're saying goodbye to the Sora app. To everyone who created with Sora, shared it, and built community around it, thank you. What you made with Sora mattered, and we know this news is disappointing. We'll share more soon, including timelines for the app and API and details on preserving your work." The decision was apparently largely due to constraints in compute resources. The Wall Street Journal reported that some OpenAI staff had been surprised on how compute-hungry the Sora app was, given the comparative lack of demand relative to all their other products. With Sora winding up, Altman said the substantial compute resources could be redeployed to run that Spud model once it's released. Hater on Twitter wrote, "OpenAI has finished training a new model codenamed Spud, which they expect will greatly accelerate the economy. They're also renaming their products division to AGI Deployment. Basically, they want more compute for Codex, which is why they discontinued Sora." Now, on the one hand, this makes obvious sense for Sora to be the primary casualty of the renewed focus, because not only is it distracting from a consumer perspective, it also is extremely resource intensive, and as we know, there's just not enough compute to go around. But I do think it marks a pretty significant moment. in that this is maybe the first time that we've seen OpenAI really have to choose, at least in such a public way, to not do something that they had clear interest in and ambition in because of compute constraints and their need to compete in the market. Yes, we have had Altman and other OpenAI executives at various points in the past say that one model or another was delayed because of compute constraints, but shutting down an entire application that had been unveiled not that long ago with much fanfare is a pretty compelling demonstration of just how big the stakes of these decisions are. Speaking of which, one bit of fallout from the end of Sora is the end of the deal with Disney. You might remember that after the Sora launch last October, instead of suing OpenAI, Disney chose to partner with them and plan to do more with the technology. In the wake of Sora ending, Disney announced that they had canceled the partnership and will not be following through with their billion-dollar investment into OpenAI. The split seems amicable enough, with Disney commenting in a statement, "As the nascent AI field advances rapidly, we respect OpenAI's decision to exit the video generation business and to shift its priorities elsewhere. We appreciate the constructive collaboration between our teams and what we learned from it, and we will continue to engage with AI platforms to find new ways to meet fans where they are, while responsibly embracing new technologies that respect IP and the rights of creators." Now, one part of the response to Sora ending from some parts of the community was dancing on the grave. The Primeagen writes, "Good. Sora accelerated one of the worst aspects of the new AI economy. Absolutely horrible thing for OpenAI to create." This, of course, relates to the feeling that some had around the announcement of Sora that by creating AI TikTok, whatever OpenAI's intentions were, they were effectively behaving like just the latest tech company to try to steal all of our attention for the sake of ads. Ahmad Osman agreed, saying OpenAI just killed Sora and nothing of value was lost. Put those GPUs to good work rather than making stupid videos. Maybe even try to cure cancer like your original mission said. Yet while some said that this was an indictment of the AI video space as a whole, Min Do, who's about as deep in that space as anyone out there, as the co-founder of Machine Cinema, writes, "It's funny seeing people retweeting the demise of Sora as evidence that AI video is doomed, not realizing that there's a whole ecosystem now. When Sora was first announced, it was just Midjourney and Runway in the game. Now it's over 100 companies clamoring into the space, and marketing departments, agencies, and studios are all locked in." OpenCode's Dax also made the point that even if you didn't like the Sora experiment, this type of experimentation is just part and parcel of figuring out what actually is valuable. He writes, "It's lame to see all the people saying, 'Ha, called it, I knew Sora wouldn't work.' Yeah, duh, everyone thought that, including the people who were working on it. They probably learned a lot trying to make it work anyway. For every successful thing that exists, 100 efforts like this had to fail. And those learnings are fed into making something that ultimately does work and provides you with your steady paycheck." Now, on this idea that these resources could be better spent elsewhere, not just in terms of compute, but in terms of talent, it is worth noting that the end of Sora is not coming with job cuts. OpenAI's head of Sora, Bill Peebles, basically said that the Sora research team would be moving into the world model space, focusing on, quote, "systems that deeply understand the world by learning to simulate arbitrary environments at high fidelity," with the prize, as he put it, being automating the physical economy. Altman reaffirmed this in the memo, saying that the Sora research team will, quote, "prioritize longer-term world simulation research, especially as it pertains to robotics." Now, for some, the natural next question then was, with the end of Sora, would we also see the end of OpenAI's ad push? The short answer is that nothing there has been canceled yet. In fact, OpenAI has hired former Meta executive Dave Duggan as their new VP of Global Ad Solutions. The pilot phase of ads is over, and ads will be rolling out to all free and Go subscribers in the coming weeks. And yet, apparently, there's still a lot of work to be done. Ad buyers have complained that OpenAI doesn't have a modern ad sales platform and are providing very minimal metrics, with multiple ad agency executives saying that they were unable to prove to their clients that ChatGPT ads were working. On shopping, OpenAI is dramatically paring back the feature. The instant checkout feature, which allows customers to buy directly from the ChatGPT window, hasn't been a success. OpenAI announced on Tuesday that they would be revamping the feature, writing, "We found that the initial version of instant checkout did not offer the level of flexibility that we aspire to provide, so we're allowing merchants to use their own checkout experiences while we focus our efforts on product discovery." Basically, OpenAI will now support a variety of checkout paths, encouraging merchants to deploy their own ChatGPT apps, as well as clicking away to external shopping platforms. Still, one does have to wonder if there are bigger changes in the offing. ClickHealth's Simon Smith writes, "Now, when does OpenAI kill its ad side quest, since it's like a $680 billion market dominated by incumbents versus the largely untapped roughly $40 trillion plus market of automatable knowledge work?" Simon's implicit argument here is, of course, that even if the path to get there is more vague, the opportunity to reinvent how work happens in the world just feels quite a bit bigger than the opportunity to reinvent how people buy stuff on the internet. Now, with the renaming of the product team to the AGI deployment team, we've had a renewed wave of conversations about what AGI actually means. In an appearance on the Lex Fridman podcast, Jensen was asked a question where AGI came up. Friedman basically asked when Jensen thought an AI would be able to start, grow, and run a successful technology company worth more than $1 billion. Jensen responded, "I think it's now. I think we've achieved AGI. It is not out of the question that a claw was able to create a web service, some interesting little app that all of a sudden, a few billion people used for 50 cents, and then it went out of business again shortly after. Now, we saw a whole bunch of those types of companies during the internet era, and most of those websites were not anything more sophisticated than what OpenClaw could generate today." Now, when Friedman drilled down, Jensen noted that his prediction only really applied to novelty software for the moment rather than anything more complicated. He said that he wouldn't be surprised if some social thing happened or somebody created a digital influencer or some social application that feeds your little Tamagotchi or something like that, and it became out of the blue an instant success. A lot of people use it for a couple of months and it kind of dies away. However, he continued, the odds of 100,000 of those agents building NVIDIA is 0%. 80,000 Hours Benjamin Todd wrote an essay, Do We Already Have AGI? With his short answer being no and his longer answer being, on the most prominent definitions, current AI is superhuman in some cognitive tasks, but still worse than almost all humans at others. That makes it impressive general, but not yet AGI. Now, regular listeners will know that I don't think the AGI question is particularly useful in practice. However, one thing that I have been thinking about recently, especially as we had that discussion around what the atomic unit of AI disruption should be, and why it should be tasks rather than jobs, I think effectively what we have, and something that might kind of explain the jagged frontier of AI capability, is it's almost like we have task AGI. Almost anything that you can ask AI to do that is specific and discrete, it can do really well. The problem is that a lot of work is strings of tasks together where AI capability starts to break down. And so to the extent that one's definition of AGI involves long strings of those tasks working together effectively without a lot of human oversight or intervention, then sure, it's more debatable if we're there or not. I kind of think Ethan Mollick has the right of it when he tweeted, "Maybe we should retroactively all just agree with Tyler Cowen that O3 was AGI so we can stop arguing about it. Also, doing so will drive home the lesson that AGI alone is not enough for transformation." As all the stories recently of OpenAI and Anthropic trying to partner with consulting and private equity firms suggest, they are well aware that even if the models are AGI capable, it's going to take a lot of work to actually get them to diffuse and fully work and reinvent the systems inside big companies. Still, if you can take away anything from all these moves from OpenAI and from the relentless pace of shipping at Claude, is that right now, more than ever for AI companies, the only type of AGI that matters to them is work AGI. For now, however, that is going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief. Appreciate you listening or watching, as always, and until next time, peace.